What's up, everybody? Welcome back once again to another episode of Axel's Analysis. As always, I'm your NXT nerd, your host, Axel Mulligan. Decent enough NXT this week. It had its parts where I thought, well, really? But overall, it was decent enough. Commentary team, same as last week. Brennan, A-Roy and Jason Albert did a good enough job. A-Roy did his job as a heel. Trying to promote the heels, and Albert did his job as the face, just typical NXT work, but it worked, basically. Or typical commentary work, rather, not typical NXT work, typical commentary work, but it worked for the purpose of the show, which was good. First match on the show was the Ascension versus Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan. As soon as I seen that they were facing Dillinger and Jordan, I thought it was going to be a squash, the typical 30-second, beat the crap out of them, hit the fallen man, 1, 2, 3, but it wasn't quite like that. It was still relatively short, but it wasn't the usual dominant performance from the Ascension, which was good to see because, as I've said on numerous occasions, I'm fucking fed up of seeing it, basically. But, Dillinger and Jordan, Dillinger didn't get a single offensive move in, but Jordan got a few. So it was good to see that it wasn't quite the dominant performances that we've seen from the Ascension, but, they're still not being walked over by these lesser, if you will, tag teams. Simple finish, forward man to Dillinger. He came into the ring, Connor hit him with a flapjack, tagged in Rick Victor, forward man, 1, 2, 3, and another win for the Ascension. Hideo Itami came in after the match. He sprinted to the ring just to get him a piece of the Ascension. Got the upper hand for a little while, but the numbers game eventually caught up to him. And the Ascension hit the fallen man. And what was good was that the crowd was still behind Hideo. They weren't sort of like, oh my God, we're seeing him getting squashed again. But it was good to see that they were still sort of buying into it. And you need that really, because otherwise it's just nobody's going to care. By the time the feud comes to its end, nobody's going to care. But I think with his reputation in Japan and on the Indies, it's helped him a lot. So, and it's helping him a lot with this feud for the people to stay invested in it, because we need to see Hideo take on both members of the Ascension, whether that's in tag team matches or if that's in singles matches. It's something that needs to be seen to sort of bring the feud to a head and conclude it. But we'll see what they do with it over the coming weeks, I suppose. CJ Parker versus Tyler Breeze was up next, and the thing that pissed me off about this was that before the match it was promoted as Tyler Breeze in action next. And as everybody knows, I'm a CJ Parker fan. I'm a CJ Parker guy. Surely he's been around the block enough in NXT to actually get promoted, for Tyler Breeze versus CJ Parker. Not Tyler Breeze in action next and then you randomly get CJ Parker coming out. It was a weird kind of match as well, because it was heel versus heel. The crowd they were quite quiet through it. There were a few pops for Breeze, but they were very sort of sporadic throughout the audience. But it was a weird kind of feel to it. It didn't really feel like a Tyler Breeze kind of match where normally he's going up against a babyface who the crowd's going to get behind. But no, it was just didn't feel right. I mean, it's a natural feud, Tyler Breeze versus CJ Parker. CJ Parker's this guy who wants to look after the earth, wants to look after the world. And Tyler Breeze, he's using these he's using these these things with his modelling, like the bird feathers, so obviously he's not helping the welfare of the animals of the world, things like that. So it's a natural feud and probably one that would work better. I know we've seen it in the past with CJ as a face and Tyler Breeze as a heel, but I think it would come off better with CJ as a heel and Breeze as a face. Whether they have any intentions on turning Bree's face anywhere in the near future, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, because he does come across as a natural heel. Whether he can play a face or not, I'm not sure. I mean, when he was Mike Dalton, didn't really get any time on screen like he's getting now to portray a babyface, but it's something I would like to see down the line. As I said, I'm a big CJ Parker fan. I'm a fan of Tyler Breeze as well, as you all know. Anyone who listens regularly, or anyone who reads my tweets regularly. It's a feud that I would like to see in the future. And what really did make sense about this match was the fact that Mojo Rawley came out towards the end of the match, and he didn't get involved in any way, shape, or form. That just didn't make any sense to me. Why is he out there? Obviously, he's got this injury, so he can't get physically involved. But why not sort of, I don't know, jump on the apron to cost Tyler Breeze the match? Breeze ended up winning with the beauty shot. CJ Parker missed with the kick that he uses, like the heel kick that he uses, and Tyler Breeze sort of said, he shouted out, "No!" And he's hit with a beauty shot, 1, 2, 3, and it just didn't make sense to have Mojo out there. Mojo should have cost Tyler Breeze the match, but for whatever reason, they didn't want to go down that route. It just felt a bit awkward with Mojo being out there and not actually doing anything. It just didn't feel right. It was weird. Stupidly weird at that, I would say. Up next, we had a Titus O'Neil interview, and I'm not sure on the woman's name who was interviewing him, but God almighty, her interviewing skills were appalling. Her acting skills, rather, were appalling. If you're going to interview somebody, at least try and be real. Don't sort of fake smile and fake shrug your shoulders. Like, I just interviewed Titus O'Neil. It was horrible to watch. I know I'm a big Devin Taylor fan, and I know there's people out there who are completely against Devin Taylor, but put her in there ahead of this woman any day. I have no idea who she was. She's not been introduced by name. She interviewed Adrian Neville last week as well. No idea who the fuck she is. But either improve your acting skills level, get the fuck off of my screen. That's all I got to say, because that was just awful. It really was awful. Titus basically mocked her. She said, I'm here to interview Titus O'Neil, blah, blah, blah. And Titus walked in and he mocked her by saying, so you're going to ask me, when are your thoughts for your match with Adrian Neville later tonight? And basically, she sort of shrugged her shoulders and nodded her head. I was like, oh, this is just awful. And basically, all Titus said was that he was going to, sorry, just reading my notes here, he's going to abuse Adrian's body, damage his mind, and take his NXT Championship, and you're going to sort of bear witness to the birth of NXT ITUS as the NXT champion, NXT Titus, obviously. So it was just a little promo to get us sort of pumped up, if you will, for the main event. Didn't really do much for me. Didn't like this. As I said, I don't know who this woman is, but her acting skills are appalling. She should get back in the performance centre if she's actually got any sort of aspirations of staying in the WWE and actually making some sort of living out of being an interviewer. Whether she's just training to be a wrestler, similar to Devin Taylor. Devin Taylor is sort of training to become a wrestler, I believe. But being a backstage interviewer is just something to sort of get her by for now. The next match was the Vaudevillains versus Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake. Excuse me. Decent tag team match. And I love this new vicious approach of the Vaudevillains. I've always been a fan of Aiden English and Simon Gotch since he's came onto the scene. Excuse me. But they're really living up to their name, villains. They've changed their entrance music. They're more vicious in the ring. A bit more, there's none of this sort of jokey around. It's all serious with them now, and it's really really working for them. And I could see probably a tag team title match in their near future against Calista Cara, as I like to call them. Because they're a very, very babyface team. So the better that the Vaudevillains can get themselves over as heels, having sort of had I suppose a brief run as a face team, the better that they can get themselves over as heels, the better for that title match should it actually come about. And Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy, I enjoyed watching them as well, you know. I was on a Sunday Segue podcast this morning, and Kinney asked me what I thought of them, and I said I love them. I do. I think they're a brilliant team. They've got some really good chemistry going on, and I'm hoping that they're actually going to keep them together, because generally what they end up doing is, like, recently on house shows, and I found this out courtesy of my partners in crime, Wayne and Marianne Mason. Basically what they do is, like, Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan don't team up, or haven't been teaming up on house shows. But I think that Murphy and Wesley Blake, Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake, they've got some good chemistry there. They've got matching attire, which obviously helps. And, you know, I think there could be a future for them as a tag team. Obviously, they're sort of randomly thrown together, but they just seem to have some sort of natural chemistry there. So the longer they're kept together, the better. And they could sort of not necessarily be a big player in the tag division in the WWE, but they can certainly sort of hold their own if they are to go up to the main roster eventually in the next year or two. And, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed watching them. The Raw Villains, though, obviously, as you'd expect, picked up the win here. They used a new double team move, which was called the Gentleman's Congress, which is basically Simon Gotch hit an uppercut to the back of, I think it was Wesley Blake, and then Aiden followed it up with a really vicious swinging neck breaker. And it makes sense to use this move as opposed to the sentons, like the rolling senton followed by the middle rope senton. You know, it's more of a heel move. It's more aggressive, whereas the senton, I mean, you don't have to look any further than Jeff Hardy, who's like the ultimate crowd favourite with that kind of move. But, you know, I was impressed. You know, the Vol Villains, again, worked well. Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy, as I say, again, they worked well. It was just a decent little tag team match. It was only sort of 5 minutes long, but it was a decent little match, and it gave Murphy and Blake a chance to show what they can do. And obviously, we already know what the Vol Villains are capable of. So I enjoyed it for what it was. Bayley versus Sasha Banks was up next. I believe this was announced last week. It was a really good match, as you'd expect, between two of not only the top women performers in NXT, but two of the top performers in NXT, whether they're men or women. Just fantastic wrestlers, really, these two. I'm always really impressed with both of them. Sasha just seems to get better and better each time you see her. And I said this morning on the Sunday Segue podcast, the scary thing about Sasha Banks is she's only 22. And she just gets better and better and better. And there's just, the sky's the limit for this girl, you know. She could evolve into one of the biggest female wrestlers in the history of WWE. Easily. Assuming she doesn't go off into a pop fucking music career or a modelling career, a dancing career, or whatever the hell it might happen to be. As long as she sticks to wrestling, sticks at the craft that she's working well to perfect. And as well, her character, she is a fucking bitch. And it's brilliant to watch, because the only other complete bitch like that in the WWE really is Nikki Bella, and she can't wrestle worth a shit. You've got Sasha Banks, who's athletic, she's beautiful, she's, you know, she's a great wrestler as well. So, and apparently Snoop Dogg's cousin. So she's got some sort of pedigree there of, you know, a famous background. Whether she, when she gets to the main roster, I hope she doesn't get booked like, you know, like Emma, whether she doesn't get booked like Paige has been. Who knows what's going to happen, but the longer she stays in NXT, the better, because I'm enjoying it. I know, you know, as I say, talking to Kinney on the Sunday Segue this morning, he's enjoying it. You know, there's loads of people who enjoy Sasha Banks on NXT, so the longer she stays down there, the better. And the same for Bayley as well, really. I know she's probably more serious about wrestling than most of the women on the roster. She's a little bit older. And I think that if she gets called up at the right time, the character doesn't go back to this sort of what would you call, like, being overawed by people on a regular basis. If she can sort of move her character forward just that little bit further, where she's comfortable where she is on the roster and moves up and keeps at that same level, as opposed to going back to, like, oh my god, it's John Cena, oh my god, it's Randy Orton, like she was when she first came into NXT. She needs to sort of keep that character level where it has been and keep progressing it like it has been for the last 6 months or so, because she's working brilliantly, Bayley. She really is. You know, she's had some incredible matches with, you know, with Charlotte, this one with Sasha Banks. She's worked her ass off, and if she was to go to the main roster, I think, you know, you'd actually see some decent competition in the Divas division. Whereas obviously they've got this apparent rule where the Total Divas can't win the Divas title. If Bayley goes up and if Sasha goes up, I fucking hope to God they do not take on a role on Total Divas like Paige has done, like Alicia Fox has done. You know, two decent wrestlers there who apparently now can't win the Divas title. So it's just something like there so that us fans know that if AJ's the champion still in, say, 6 months' time, if Bayley goes up or Sasha goes up and they face off against AJ, you think, actually, they could win. Sasha won this match using the bank statement, you know, the back cracker into the crossface. Always impressed by that because such a brilliant move to see, such a brilliant move to watch. After the match, she continued the beat down on Bayley. And that was until Becky Lynch made the save, and Sasha bailed from the ring, started walking up the ramp, and Becky hugged Bayley, her quote-unquote friend. And as Bayley was about to leave the ring, fucking bam, from behind, Becky Lynch takes right, and I swear half the crowd fucking marked out for it as much as I did, because it's just something so fresh to see. Like, Becky Lynch has been so squeaky clean since she came to the NXT roster, and just fucking bam, the ultimate babyface diva of Bayley, and getting taken out by the squeaky clean Becky Lynch. Fuck it, it was brilliant. I loved it. Becky joined Sasha on the ramp, held her hand up in victory. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant part of the show. I loved it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing where they go. As I say, I don't think there'll be a reformed or remade version of the BFFs, but I think that there'll be something there to build upon. Just basically so that Sasha's got an ally, because I think she'll be next in line to win the women's title, or whether she wins or doesn't win, that she'll be the next person to get a shot at the title. It's just basically something just being in her corner to have her back. But as I say, whether she wins or doesn't win the women's title remains to be seen, and obviously we'll have to find out if and when that match comes about. Enzo and Cass and Carmella segment. Enzo and Cass basically backstage, they find Carmella, she's talking on her phone saying, yeah, I made this girl tap out last week, blah, 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 or blue pants. And Enzo sort of cuts her off. He says he's got her another match for next week against, Cass confirms it's against Emma. So yeah, I'm guessing that's going to be next week. It didn't actually say, but I'm guessing it's going to be next week. Carmella gives Cass some sugar and doesn't give Enzo fuck all, basically. Main event time: Adrian Neville versus Titus O'Neil for the NXT Championship. Wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't a good match. It was disappointing in the fact that I expected more from them. I'm a big fan of Neville because obviously, you know, he's such a brilliant talent to watch in the ring. And I like Titus as well because, you know, he's got that charisma about him. He's got a lot of strength. I said last week he's not particularly a good wrestler. He's a good enough wrestler. And he could have had a better match here. You know, he dominated for most of the match. He showed off his power, his strength, so on and so forth. But I don't know, maybe I just set my standards too high. but that probably comes from being a big Ring of Honor fan and knowing what they put on. As I said, Titus dominated most of the match with his power and his strength. But, as expected, Neville picked up the win. He finally got the upper hand, hit the red arrow, bam, 1, 2, 3, and Neville retained the title. And, after the match, after a sort of little celebrations, he goes up to the end of the ramp. And on the stage, Sami Zayn comes out to congratulate him. And he says, he's got one mission, and that mission is to win the NXT Championship. Neville says, anytime, any place, like game, I'll give you that match that you want, Sami. And Sami says, I'll hold you to that promise, I'll hold you to that. And he says, you want to hold on to that NXT Championship as well, because you won't be holding on to it for very long. So Neville sort of starts to walk off, and he says to him, I don't need to worry too much, because we all know you can't win the big one. To end the show, brilliant way to end the show, I thought, just on that little, not necessarily like a cliffhanger, but on that sort of building the tension between Zayn and Neville. The two squeaky clean baby faces, the two best of friends, and just to add a little bit more, like to stir the pot a little bit more between them, I thought it was brilliant. Overall rating, I've gone for a 6 out of 10. I think the title match dragged that down quite significantly. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would have been. It wasn't as good as it probably should have been either, but it was one of those, it was good enough, but not particularly great kind of matches. 6 out of 10 I've given it. The news for this week. Only one piece is that there's going to be another NXT TakeOver event, I believe, on December the 11th. Definitely in December, I believe it's the 11th. Which I don't really know too many details for yet. It's just something that I read on one of the dirt sheets. I'd imagine that we'd see Neville versus Zayn then. Other than that, I don't really know what else to expect. Still a couple of months away yet. And there's plenty of time to build towards it. They've done, I think they've got about 6 more weeks worth of tapings done up until that time. So we'll see where they go with it. Obviously, as I say, 6 weeks worth of TV. A lot can happen in 6 weeks on TV. I'm just looking forward to the ride, to be honest with you, because if it's anything like the last NXT TakeOver event, it's going to be brilliant, isn't it? All 3 of the live shows that they've done so far, the 2 takeovers and the NXT Arrival, all been absolutely brilliant. So, however they play this one out, I think everybody's going to be looking forward to it. Birthdays for this week. Birthdays are back. October the 20th, Scott Hall turned 56, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. turned 44. October the 21st, D'Lo Brown 42. October the 22nd, Pedro Morales 72, and Bad News Brown 71. October the 23rd, talk about Carmella just now, she turned 27. The 25th, Perry Saturn 48. Everybody's favourite quitter, CM Punk 36, and Rosa Mendez 35. And October the 26th, Kevin Sullivan 65, Taka Michinoku 41. And although this guy's never worked for the WWE, I love this guy. I think he's fucking brilliant. Bobby Fish turned 35, that's today, October the 26th. So happy birthday to everybody on that list. Last week for the Grappling Greats, I flipped a coin. Didn't know, because I just couldn't decide whether to choose between Fritz von Erich and Verne Gagne. Took it to a Facebook poll, which ended up in a tie at 4 apiece. So I flipped a coin, and it came down in the favour of Fritz von Erich. So this week I'm going to cover Verne Gagne. So Verne Gagne, born Laverne Clarence Gagne, February 26, 1926, in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. He grew up on a farm in Corcoran, Minnesota, until he left the home at the age of 14 after the death of his mother. In 1943, he was recruited by the University of Minnesota to play football, and after a year in the U.S. Marine Corps, he went back to college and won 2 NCAA titles, and was also an alternate for the 1948 U.S. Olympics freestyle wrestling team. The reason he wasn't like on the main squad, if you will, was because he'd allegedly at that time wrestled professionally, and they weren't too keen on using somebody who earned money to do the job. Obviously, it's all amateur, so amateur means you don't earn money doing it. Gagne turned to professional wrestling in 1949 after choosing wrestling over an NFL career. He defeated Abe Caskey in his debut match, and the following year became the NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. In 1960, he opened the American Wrestling Association and was instantly their biggest star. He was awarded the AWA Championship after the inaugural champion Pat O'Connor failed to defend the belt against Gagne, who was the number one contender. He had 90 days basically to defend the title against him, and he neglected to do so. So Pat O'Connor was stripped of the title, and it was presented to Verne Gagne. Verne won the AWA World Championship a total of 10 times, with his final reign lasting his ninth reign, lasting 2,625 days, and that's the third longest world title reign out of anybody in history, behind Bruno Sammartino and Lou Thesz. Verne's 10th title reign lasted 305 days, and he retired as the champion. After the AWA lost such star names such as Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Bobby Heenan, and Jim Brunzell, the AWA lost ratings and attendances dropped. The company closed in 1991, and Verne ended up in a bankruptcy court. Verne Gagne has been inducted into the following halls of fame: the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2004, WCW in 1993, WWE in 2006, which he was inducted by his son Greg, and the Wrestling Observer Newsletter in 1996. And one of his biggest achievements as well was the amount of wrestlers that he trained, and I've got a list here of guys that he trained. Some of these guys I didn't even know about, but he not necessarily fully trained them, but at least helped into training them. Names like Ric Flair, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Kurt Hennig, obviously Mr. Perfect, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Sergeant Slaughter, Bob Backlund, that's one I didn't know too much about, Larry Hennig, Blackjack Mulligan, Greg Gagne, his son, Gene Early and Lars Anderson, Jim Brunzell, Baron von Raschke, the Iron Sheik, Ken Patera, Brian Knobs, Jerry Saggs, Scott Norton, Buddy Rose, and apparently I didn't know this one at all, The Undertaker. Obviously one of the biggest names in professional wrestling for the last 25 years. Rumour has it as well, when Hulk Hogan left the AWA because he basically got his shit on by Verne, Verne was asking for him for money for his Japanese appearances and his merchandise sales, and Hogan basically said, no, fuck you. When Hogan went back to the WWE, Verne said to the Iron Sheik, I'll pay you X amount of money if you injure him so badly that he can never wrestle again. Sheik basically turned the money down, but the story has been apparently confirmed by the Iron Sheik. How true it is, I don't know, because Sheik comes out with a lot of shit, basically. That's the end of the show. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you check out the Twitter page at Axel's Analysis. I'm trying to use that one a lot more than what I have done in the past. My personal page at Axel's Analysis. Give the Facebook page a like as well. Just search for Axel's Analysis on there. Shout out to as usual Tim Vicious. Make sure you check out Vicious Rants on YouTube. Check out you can find Tim on Twitter at Tim Vicious and at Tim_Vicious. Sunday Segue Podcast, where I was a guest this week. I was supposed to be facing Shugs in the second semi-final Beat the Clock Challenge, but he decided to go to Wembley to watch the NFL. You can find the Sunday Segue Podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, and I believe on Mixcloud as well. James's Wrestling Ramble, where I was also a guest this week. You can listen to James's Wrestling Ramble on YouTube, Mixcloud, and Podomatic. Tony_Walker. You can listen to the Wrestling Matters podcast, where I'll be a guest next week. My requests for podcasts are going through the fucking roof. Basically, the last 2 weeks, it's like a London bus. I've been on a podcast for about a month, aside from my own, and then I get 3 in the space of 2 weeks. You can listen to the Wrestling Matters podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, and Mixcloud. Obviously, if you listen to the Wrestling Matters podcast or the Sunday Segue podcast on iTunes, just give them a rating, just get them up the charts, where they deserve to be. At PW Smart Talk and my NXT partners in crime, at Graven Babies and at Wayne Mason. Make sure you check out Marianne and Wayne's blog, Mason's Ringside Review, .blogspot.com. Thanks for listening. I'll be back again next week with more NXT.